Welcome to Calgary Living, where we discuss Calgary lifestyle, community, and homes. I'm your host, Diane, a local realtor here, licensed with Royal LePage Benchmark. And if you're new to the city, welcome home. Today's episode's all about the update from Anne-Marie Lurie, which is the chief economist for the Calgary Real Estate Board. And Anne-Marie is a dynamo. She knows her stuff inside and out. So when she has something to say, all us realtors, well, we listen very closely. We need to be in the know just as much as you do. Economics is not for everybody, I can say that, nor is statistics. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a summary of what Anne-Marie shared with everyone in the real estate board. In 2020, housing markets across the country surprised many with a stronger than expected rebound in the second half of the year, despite record high unemployment rates and significant job losses. And that's all around the entire country. I don't know if you recall earlier in the year before COVID hit, it was estimated by the economic gurus that across Canada, the housing market would decrease in value 22%. We haven't seen that. We've seen the exact opposite. And in Calgary, it's very, very important for us, for our growth and for our our long-term survival, if nothing else. But Calgary did not hit a record high sales or prices in the third or fourth quarters, but it still posted some of the strongest sales relative to the past 5 years. This was nearly enough to offset the initial losses recording during the first shutdown caused by the pandemic. And I'm going to interject again here because basically what happened is the year started like a normal year in Calgary with respect to real estate. January is always slow. February, we usually see more listings coming on the market because May is the top month for people taking possession of their homes. So if you do the math backwards, you always have a 90-day window and you can see what happened 90 days prior. But then the pandemic shutdown hit and we didn't see sales happening. We didn't see new listings coming on the market, and listings that were on the market weren't going very far at any rate. And then, as if by magic, a few months later, people got out of their homes and they started buying. So there was a surge, but it was a superficial surge because there was such a loss during lockdown time. Basically, the market averaged out the same. So back to Anne-Marie. She says it's expected some of the momentum recorded at the end of 2020 will continue into 2021, fueled by exceptionally low lending rates and pent-up demand. While sales are expected to rise by nearly 5% on an annual basis in 2021, persistent economic challenges are expected to prevent stronger growth in our housing market. Which this absolutely makes sense what she says, because the big picture in Calgary is a little bit different than other parts of the country that are seeing now multiple offer situations again. Calgary has a little own microeconomic geographical structure that I'll get into more about towards the end of the show. But I wanted to continue telling you her summary. Reduction in supply relative to sales is the primary reason the Calgary housing market returned to more balanced conditions by the end of 2020. The pullback in new listings relative to sales activity resulted in inventory levels falling to the lowest levels seen in the past several years. So we're getting back to the whole supply and demand that she's talking about, because really the supply is quite low right now. So I'm going to just say out loud, if you are thinking of making a move this year, let's get your property on the market now because it's down 20% on the availability. Excellent timing. And snow doesn't stop anybody in Calgary, so don't even worry about that. So Anne-Marie goes on to say, as we move into 2021, we anticipate new listings will start to rise. Yes. as COVID likely caused many homeowners to delay listing their homes. We could start to see some supply come back in 2021 as concerns regarding the spread of the virus ease. Persistently high unemployment rates could also weigh on some existing homeowners who may need to sell their homes, which is always an unfortunate situation, isn't it? Emery says growth in supply is expected to offset some of the gains in sales, pushing our market to the upper bounds of balanced conditions and slowing price recovery. However, the price gains that occurred at the end of 2020 are not expected to be eroded in 2021. Annual prices are forecasted to improve by over 1%. So basically, the prices of homes is not expected to go skyrocketing, nor are they expected to come down any further. And actually, having been in the Calgary real estate market through a lot of thick and thin and this, that, and the other thing, and these are my words, not Emery's, but home sale prices for homes was actually lower about 3 years ago than they are now. So we've had a balanced market for a while now, and the survival instinct in Calgary is quite strong, let me tell you. So Emery finalizes her comments in saying, despite citywide gains, we anticipate persistent variation between the lower and upper ends of the market, as well as between different product types. Conditions are expected to remain relatively tight for lower price and mid-range homes in the market, likely resulting in stronger price gains. However, lack of job growth for higher paid professional positions could result in persistent imbalances in the higher price ranges, impacting price recovery in the upper end of the market. So what does that mean to you as a home buyer? Well, what it means is if you're looking for a property that is under $600,000, and let's say you want to buy a detached home, then you know what? The price is pretty balanced. We're a little short on inventory right now. It's turning to a bit more of a seller's market in that regard. So I think that's where we're going to see some action and a little bump, like she mentioned, in the average price. They call it the benchmark price here in Calgary, by the way. But then when you go over 600, and then you start looking at under $1 million, there's about a 6-month supply. So won't see much change there. And the $1 million and plus dollar listings, there's still a 10-month supply. But where it really gets interesting is in the different product types. If you own an apartment and you don't have to sell, don't do it this year. Don't do it. There's way too many apartment condos on the market right now. There is way too much building that went on in that sector, and the supply is very high. The inner city condos especially are suffering in sales because there's so much new inventory to choose from, and the builders are being competitive. The one thing that I must say is that it also varies by quadrant in the city. So depending which quadrant of the city you want to live in, you want to buy in, is going to depend on also the supply and demand. Of course, Emery is forecasting for the future because she's an economist, and she can only break it down so much in a relative term. So she does an excellent job at doing that. Because when you think about it, if you say, while sales are expected to rise by nearly 5% in 2021, we have the economic challenges, and they will prevent strong growth in our housing market. Having said that, it's an excellent time to buy. It's an excellent time to finance. Money's almost free these days. It's kind of crazy. Calgary has a young demographic, and it really balances things out here. And the market is very interesting because Calgary also used to get a nice bump with international migration, which isn't happening right now either. But as a result, our tech sector, our pharmaceutical sector, our wonderful company, Providence Therapeutics, who is working on their own COVID vaccine. I mean, that's right here local in Calgary. The tech sector is, I think, quiet in Calgary, and I think we're going to see a huge boom in that because there's a lot of people working in that market right now, and the technology is just, it blows me away what they're doing. So the microeconomies in Calgary is what you really need to speak to a realtor about, because you need to be in the right quadrant to meet your needs for the long term. You need to think, do I go condo or not? They look really cheap right now, but hey, there's a little thing called a condo fee every month. So that's another variable to take into consideration, and actually something I am going to speak about next month. The other thing Emery does not talk about, though, is the US and its impact on Canada. And we've seen it before, we're going to see it again. So that's another thing to watch. Are we going to stay balanced? What is going to be the long-term impact depending on what happens in the US? Because let me tell you, they did not have the same support from their government as we did. And I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking survival here. A lot of people made it through in Canada because we had that little boost. I'm not talking politics here. I'm saying in comparison to the US, Canada had the support. So Anne-Marie's summary of the forecast, it's good news for Calgary. We're going to see some growth. She said sales are expected to rise by nearly 5%. I'm going to say 2%, because the average price is still under $450,000. When you compare that to other parts of the country, it doesn't seem so big a deal. But we're not expecting the growth that other parts of the country are. And we definitely do not expect, unless people absolutely positively need to immigrate to Canada, that we're going to see that migration increase either. So there you have it. I am going to post on my website the full summary, the full report. So if you want to peruse that, go to prg.properties and you will have a link there to the 2021 Calgary Real Estate Board forecast by Chief Economist Anne-Marie Lurie. I'm Diane Planadin, a local realtor here, and if you're looking to make a move, please feel free to give me a shout out and subscribe to the show so you can hear more. All right, have a super day and welcome to the sunniest place in Canada.